Massive appreciation to you both. You're very, very busy people. You've got lots of other things to do. Thank you very much for giving up your time to join us. So Bob, give us a corporation's perspective on the state of the nation. And what I mean by that is, and I asked this question to Steve Hearn earlier, we've had a few false dawns. Do you feel that this time we're close to creating a truly digital marketplace? Is it different?
I get in trouble all the time, but I got in trouble because someone asked me this question, and I asked them if they'd seen the children's movie, The Never-Ending Journey, and they didn't think it was as funny as I did. Well, first, I think in the spirit of transparency, I've only been actually in the London market for 3 years. I mean, I've worked in London before, but not in the Lloyd's marketplace, so I'm probably on more of a steep learning curve than most people. Maybe that's a good thing because I haven't had all the false dawns in my own career, so I remained optimistic. I think we are probably 75% of the way there to turning on this new platform. The problem has been, I think, three things. In some cases, we've over-promoted or been overly optimistic on the timeline, so shame on us for doing so. We are dealing with a organization, as you probably all know, called Velinetic, that is a old construct that was created a long time ago as a joint venture, which makes it, some ways it makes it easy to get things done, in some ways it makes it a bit more difficult because one of the shareholders is also the technology provider, so in some cases you've got a bit of conflicted priorities. But the big issue that we've had is we've just had a difficult time getting customer testing started in earnest. I think we have turned the corner on that, but I'm not going to confirm it until we've turned the corner. But that's really there are other missing pieces, but the big piece is getting the customers comfortable that the platform works, and the only way we're going to do that is through a robust testing program. Once we do that, I think we will turn the platform on. I haven't had anybody in the marketplace who's at least openly said to me, no, even though we've spent a lot of money for the new platform, let's stay on a 30-year-old mainframe batch-oriented system that a bit is brittle and operationally not as resilient as it could be. But the last thing I'd say about that, though, is that's only half the journey. Once we get the platform turned on, we have to, and this goes back to some of the prior commentary that we've heard from some of the other panelists, we have to make sure that we have a digital pathway into the platform. PPL plays a big part of that. APIs play a big part of that. The data standards that we talked about play a big part of it. That won't get turned on until 2025, so I still think we're a bit of the way from getting that journey completed. And on the second phase, which is the gateway into the platform, that's not a market cutover, so that's a firm-by-firm cutover. So I think the tail on that will be a bit longer than we might think.
Martin, you're a serial entrepreneur. You're an opportunity spotter, if I may say that. Where do you see the opportunities, given where the market is now and this sort of on the threshold of being a properly digital market?
Well, thank you for having me, Robin, today. Unlike Bob, I've been in and around the market, the Lloyd's market, for about 40 years now. I know that'll shock many of you, given my tender look. But the market is in extraordinary shape, and we mustn't lose sight of that. We are experiencing in the market discipline, the likes of which we have never seen before. And a lot of that goes down to Bob and his colleagues in that they hold the market up to this level of competency and adequacy to make the most that they possibly can out of this scenario. The market is also littered with failures in the digital space. And so I'm really encouraged, actually, by the steps that we're seeing today. I'm slightly disappointed with the urgency. I'd like to see more urgency around it, but I understand there's a lot of balance checking and governance and data integrity, et cetera, that goes through to it. But it's a fascinating time in the market, and we're now in an era where, guess what? It's okay to be a follower. And in my history, most Lloyd's underwriters were prima donnas and had to be at the front of a slip charging the prices and negotiating terms. But actually today, and a lot through Blueprint 2 and the dislocation between lead and follow, it's okay to be a follower now. And I think the opportunities that digitalization, and then I'm sure move on to machine learning and algorithms, I think it's a really exciting time in the marketplace.
You've got the entrepreneur's problem, that, like me, that nothing ever moves fast enough. I started out in this 20 years ago, and I thought it was going to take about 3 to 5 years, and
it's still doing
20 years later. So, Bobby, back to you. Lloyd's does have a role to play in the kind of, to Martin's point about acceleration. You've got some levers to pull. You've got money you can spend. What levers have you got to pull? Is there anything you can do to sort of push the momentum, get us going a bit faster?
Well, we've done pretty much everything we can do to push the tech build. I think the issue will be not this phase one, which I'm personally consumed with right now. It'll be when phase two is ready, and I think that there's a variety of levers that can be pulled. But my personal point of view, not necessarily those of all my colleagues, maybe, is the market needs to operate with the market forces that exist. So there will be winners and losers. My personal point of view is those people that try to get in early to understand what they can do with data standards, data movement digitally, and what that means in terms of how they run their business. I think then nobody wants to be on the back of that train. So if you're on the back of the train, you see people moving ahead, the natural competitive forces, I think, move it. I've had some people that have said to me, well, Lloyd's should just mandate this stuff. Well, that's a fairly strong word, and the problem with doing that is you leave people behind on a journey that I think, listen, it's taken us 30 years to upgrade the technology platform. My personal point of view is if it takes us 3 years to get full adoption, that's not that big of a deal, and we ought to pull the levers that we can pull, but we also should let the market move, because some people will move quickly, and the ones that move quickly, my personal opinion is they'll win. Nobody wants to lose.
Martin, to that point, we're going slightly off script now, but hey, who cares? You would be naturally frustrated by speed of progress. You'd like to see more enthusiasm. Lloyd's could do so much, but actually, speed of progress and enthusiasm is something that leadership across the board needs to show. If we want to move faster, what do you think the CEOs of, I mean, maybe there's things that Lloyd's can do that it's not, but what do CEOs and the leaders of the main players in London do to push this forward in a way that's closer aligned to what you think is the timescales?
So I think the key issue for me is that the C-suite need to grasp this as a strategic position. Too often, I hear the phrase that turkeys don't vote for Christmas. And, that's a very convenient phrase, but actually I think it's a nonsense phrase. And I think when you look at digitalization, data ingestion, data enrichment, machine learning, this is all the next stage of the evolution to my mind. And you ignore it at your peril, but you must embrace it. And where it's not going to work is when discussions are had at class underwriter level, because that's when turkeys worry about Christmas. There needs to be clear strategic direction from the top down that embeds this within entities so that it's understood the benefits that it can have. And look, we've just had, or we're still enjoying, the best market in a generation, as I said at the beginning. But during that time, let's use it to prepare for the more challenging market, which is inevitably going to happen. So let's use it. And part of dealing with that challenging market has to be how we embrace data and how we embrace technology to evaluate what we do and make us make better informed decisions. And I worry that the lack of speed is going to create an issue where there's going to be certainly a few syndicates that are up there, and I know on our next panel there are two that are way ahead of the curve, but there are many that are still not there. So that worries me.
Fix the roof while the sun is shining.
Yeah.
Bob, there's a big sort of competitive advantage type thing for London here. Do you see it as a sort of big prize that this is part of just making London a more competitive place to do business and the benefits that accrue to all of us who work here then?
Well, sometimes when I walk the halls of Lloyd's, I think some of us think that Lloyd's is the center of the universe, which is not. And I've worked for companies that have huge global scale. And we all know who they are, so I don't need to mention them and get competitors upset with one another. So I think the advantage that the London market has is you've got circa 100 insurance companies that come together to try to solve customers' problems, sometimes singly, sometimes in a syndicated fashion. The comment about follow is an important comment. But if we don't find the right balance of leveraging the entrepreneurialism of those circa 100 insurers, plus all the brokers, and I'm not taking away from the 300 or so brokers, we'll get outflanked by the big global competitors. So I do think that, to the point about leadership and C-suite, leadership is important, and we have to strike the right balance at Lloyd's between trying to drive a direction for the marketplace without being so dictatorial that people can't exercise their entrepreneurialism. But we have say what we want about it, we have about a 4 percentage point expense disadvantage. There's a lot of reasons for it. It's not just digital, but at some point that starts to grind into what the end customer decides when they want to place their insurance.
Martin, you talked earlier about how it's cool to be a follow, and there's now a lot of companies moving into smart follow. We'll have a session about that in a second. But is there any part of the thinking that is hard market versus soft market influenced? As we're in a hard market, we've had the benefits of it. Should we be thinking slightly differently as we head towards perhaps a softer market?
Yeah, we should. And that goes back to my earlier comment. When you're an insurer and you're evaluating performance, you have a thing called a combined ratio. And you've got 3 aspects to that ratio: the loss ratio, the costs to acquire the business, and your own expense ratio. Now, the move to digitalization, the move to tech-enabled underwriting should help you on your own expense base, because you should be able to save employment costs by having machines and computers do a lot of that heavy lifting. It should also allow you to try and hunt down better loss ratio business as well. So on your combined ratio, you're potentially hitting 2 out of the 3 ratios in that point. And that's important. What it's not, though, so I find it interesting. A lot of people talk about smart follow as being sort of the be-all and end-all. Smart follow has to be more than simply employing less people and having a lower expense base. It needs to involve the ingestion of data, the evaluation of data, and the deployment of technology. So yes, absolutely, we should be gearing up to embed that stuff into our underwriting discipline as we go forward.
We've got a couple of minutes left. There's 1 minute each. Bob, send us away with a inspiring message on behalf of Lloyd's, just how the threshold of destiny.
Well, you said it. We should make hay while the sun is shining, because it's shining right now. We've got a great system that processed last year 115 billion sterling of premium and claims. It's 30 years old. Who of you in the room would go to your CEO and say, we're almost ready for a new platform, but I'm going to give up hope and I'm going to stay on a 30-year-old platform? That would be a crazy thing. We will get there. I'll finish with something that people are probably tired of hearing me say that I work with. It's an American football expression. There's 100 yards to get to goal. Oftentimes it's the last 10 yards that they're hardest. I think we're at the 10 to 15-yard line.
Instate people who are on social media, that's our tag for tomorrow morning. That's the one. Martin, last message from you. Give us something inspiring to send us away.
Well, I would just say, look, it's a really exciting time in the marketplace, not only in terms of market discipline and pricing and opportunity and growth, but also technology and digitalization are all coming together at this really exciting time. My message is embrace it. Don't fight it. Work with it and embrace it, because it's going to be, at the end of the day, it's going to work in everybody's favor, I believe, to lead to a much more disciplined and robust and sustainable marketplace.
It's been a privilege to have you both here. So thank you very much for joining me, and thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.